WWDB, Philadelphia, the talk station.
Good afternoon, greater Philadelphia area. This is Toole Time Real Estate Radio on WWDB 860 AM. I'm Tom Toole. She's Sarah Timon. She's Stacy Mitchell. We have Nick Wolf behind the camera, and we all work at the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX Mainline, the number one ranked RE/MAX team in Pennsylvania since 2018. And we're going to cover a ton of stuff today. There's a lot going on with real estate from the consumer side, with Moody's and Zillow revising their housing outlooks over the past week or two. Now that we're into January, we're going to cover that next. We also have the pocket listing lawsuit getting settled and the rise of maybe a competitor for the National Association of Realtors. And lastly, and this is something every agent should be paying attention to, 80% of home buyers are now willing to adjust their plans. So are you asking the right questions? We're going to cover all that here next. But let's start off with Moody's revising their housing outlook. And if you get some value out of this, do us a favor, make sure to subscribe to the channel on YouTube, hit the bell for notifications. We're going to keep this information coming. So Moody's Analytics, right, their chief economist, Mark Zandi, they came out yesterday, and these guys revise their, and gals, they revise their predictions all the time. So back in April of 2022, Mark Zandi told Lance Lambert in an interview that spiked mortgage rates would put the U.S. housing market into a housing correction on a phone call they had. And he predicted that existing home sales would fall sharply, national home price growth would decelerate to 0% by May of last year, and significantly overvalued pandemic boom towns like Austin and Boise would experience declines in the 5 to 10% range. So now, Mark Zandi, it's a pretty aggressive prediction, right? And he was wrong, by the way. Now, Mark Zandi told Resi Club and Lance Lambert that his model is no longer bearish on home prices, and he expects home prices to fall 0.4% this year, basically flat. So, what do you think about this revision? And he actually they did an interesting job with like the maps here. I always think the heat maps are really interesting because every part of the country is so different. And what do you think about this? I mean, he's saying they're going to be flat to maybe modestly down over the next 2 to 3 years versus like falling off a cliff, which was really aggressive.
I mean, I don't know that I agree with either of his predictions. I mean, and it is evident from the heat map here that most of the areas that they are talking about is not our area. So maybe he is going to be correct on where his numbers are coming in with his revision in either overall, if you like average the different areas, or in some of these like hotter areas on the heat map. Because from what I have seen so far this year, prices are not falling.
No. And we didn't see that last year.
Right.
So, I mean, I think he's going to be revising this prediction again. Mm-hmm. And again, I'm not sure if it's why I mean, overall, nationally, possibly, but I still don't see it.
Right.
Our area is so aggressive right now as far as, in the local market that we're in.
Yeah.
As far as homes still selling quickly, if they're priced properly.
Yep.
And not too many homes are sitting. And even if they are and there's price drops, they eventually go.
Yeah.
They eventually will be sold.
Right.
Either the buyers will go in and make a good offer, mm-hmm. and the sellers will accept at a lower price. But for the most part, the houses are still going quickly in our area. So real estate is always very local, and we talk about that all the time. But I don't see where home prices are going flat. We still have significant home shortages basically everywhere. Mm-hmm. I have family in different parts of the country, and even in Florida, the market's still very good.
Yeah.
So I'm sure there's little tiny pockets in certain areas that don't have a whole lot of major companies or major corporations that are drawing people into the area for jobs and schools, and mm-hmm. maybe they're a little bit, right. under and shifting theirs, but not around here. No way.
Right. I agree.
Well, part of this has to do with you're not seeing people lose money on their homes, but there was a point where, values kind of came down a little bit from what they could have sold them for, which is all hypothetical. I mean, it's kind of funny money to a certain extent when you look at it that way. Zillow also revised their regional home price forecasts for 2024, and that happened about a week ago as well. And they're much more bullish on this. If you look at their heat map, there's a lot of blue on there, which is typically you're going to see an increase in pricing. There's some areas that may have some decreases. There's a couple spots in California, Louisiana, Texas, those sort of places. And what's happening here is that these predictions always got to get revised, and I don't think a lot of people thought that rates would have come down as fast as they did while the job market was still strong. And the Fed, a lot of people were calling for the Fed, and they've got a meeting coming up. They're not going to do a rate adjustment. They're going to talk. And a lot of people thought that the Fed might continue with their hawkish approach of continuing to raise rates, which hasn't happened yet. So that's another factor here as well. When you look at what he's talking about here, Mark Zandi specifically expects national home prices to be flat to modestly down, along with rising incomes and lower rates that should repair housing affordability and revive existing home sales, which I do agree with. And he did expect more meaningful price declines and a quicker restoration of housing affordability and sales. But the lock-in effect has been persistent, limiting the available supply of homes and supporting prices. That is a very accurate analysis. I think that's the biggest thing to take away from this is that there's still people. And we had this conversation yesterday with some folks. Stacey, we've had it with multiple people as well where, hey, I'm at 2.75, I'm at 3%. And it's got to be that, hey, we've got to get out of this house. We can't live here anymore. But then there's also people that are they're kind of okay with like the fives, and there's an opportunity in my view for those folks to maybe buy down their rate a little bit if they do want to move. Supply is definitely the issue here because we still haven't seen supply, at least in the Northeast, get back to those 2019 levels. Other parts of the country we are seeing supply higher. So I think that's a reasonable analysis here. He just happens to be very bearish on this. Looking at Zillow's revisions, I mean, they basically had the same thing where if you looked at October versus December, they saw some slight declines, not anything like Mark Zandi was talking about. And now they're looking at we're going to see a plus, 3.5 is kind of what they're talking about between December 23 and December 24 in terms of home values. And, they're looking at some of the same factors. So I think some people are just going to be more optimistic than others. How are you communicating this with buyers right now? Because there's still some buyers and the sellers that have to buy where they're, hey, we're going to wait for the right home to come on the market. I know there's folks that have been waiting for years at this point. I'm really clear that buyers have an opportunity now because rates have come down where before the rush of more and more people entering the market that happens every single year this time of year, they should be out there now. What are you ladies doing to communicate that to your clientele right now? Because I think that is an important point here that a lot of people are missing, especially as the home price revisions come up.
That's a good question. I feel like the past couple of weeks, a lot of clients that I've been working with over the years have woken up to the fact that the interest rates have leveled out and they missed opportunity watching the market and waiting for the perfect time. And they're coming back into the market right now. Mm-hmm. It's been this great awakening in my boomtown. So now maybe they had to come to this on their own, but they're watching and again, it's an election year. Nobody knows what's going to happen. So to me, for the most part, some of these folks have come to their own realization that if they don't make a move now, the interest rates could go, they don't know.
Right.
We don't know. We know what's happening now, but you have to consider that they've been watching for home prices to drop and that hasn't happened.
Right.
So they were watching for interest rates to drop and that has happened. Mm-hmm. So they don't want to miss the boat again.
Right.
They don't want the interest rates to go close to 8 again.
Right.
So they're coming back with this heightened sense of urgency, mm-hmm. and they have to get something now. And I'm there for them, mm-hmm. and I just reassure them that, yes, this is exactly what's going on. I use a lot of case studies. Yep. That's what I do.
Yeah.
Great thing to do.
Yeah, I mean, I would say also with most of the predictions kind of coming in for partway through the year, by the end of the year, where interest rates are going to be at, it's not that significantly different from where they are now. So I feel like for people earlier, before everything was kind of coming in at like, all right, they might hit 5.5 by the end. And again, people revise these all the time. There is no certainty to any of where this is exactly going to go. But since they're coming in at a level that's not too far off from where we are now, I feel like it makes sense to just kind of point out, if the right home comes along, and to do the buyer estimated cost sheets, like, hey, this, if we get it at this price, at this interest rate, like this, just bring it back to like the facts and the things that we can control.
Well, first of all, the reason, Stacey, you're seeing people come back to life is because you actually use your CRM and work in there and do the things that you're supposed to do, which you're laughing about. This is one of those things agents think, oh, well, they're not serious. They judge people instead of doing the things that will pay off in the future. Because that's not work you did like last week or last month or even in the third quarter. This is stuff you've done for years that's paying off. So that's a great lesson for agents there, that if you want your CRM to work, you have to use it. So with that in mind, Sarah, I tend to agree with you. And you also look at the data that's out there. We saw an 8% increase in mortgage applications in terms of purchase applications that were filed last week. That shows you that there's more people coming to the market. So that's number one. That's activity. You can only file a purchase application when you have an executed agreement of sale. So the competition is coming. And these agents that tell people to wait till after the Super Bowl, that's just bad advice. It's one of the stupidest things you can say to somebody, especially since they moved the Super Bowl. But it used to be like end of January. I remember the Super Bowl was on my birthday one year, and I'm not big. And it's middle of January, right? So now we're into February, and we still got another 2 weeks. So this is kind of what goes on. So that's bad advice, and I think it's just you can see the signs of motivation. Like you said, they start looking at properties again, the activity's there. If you don't have this stuff set up, you're just guessing, or they're doing that with somebody else, and someone else did the follow-up. So with that, the other thing piece of news that came out yesterday is that Bloomberg is now saying mortgage rates are going to drop to 5.5% the end of the year. I have a hard time with this one. I think we're going to see some stable mortgage rates in like this maybe high 5, particularly low 6 range, like what we've been seeing so far. And Mark Zandi was quoted in this interview on Bloomberg that the worst is over for the housing market, but a full recovery will be slow in coming. Mortgage rates should continue to trend lower this year, which I do agree with. I just don't know about 5.5%. So how are you dealing with that with folks? Because I know there's people kind of hoping rates go down. We've heard rates were going to go down. And I mean, mortgage rate predictions are some of the most inaccurate things that I've seen. How are you walking buyers through this? Because, yeah, it's great to have this lower rate. One of the things we heard at our meeting last night, and there were some great clients of ours, we had helped them move about 10 years ago. The seller said, hey, I'm not worried about a refi down the road. I'll take advantage of that later, which I think is the right move, because they got to find the house at the price that they want, because you can't renegotiate the price. What are you two saying to consumers that are saying, well, we're going to wait for rates to come down? Because this still persists, even though we're seeing lower mortgage rates.
I mean, I typically bring them back to the fact that there's a lot of other people that say that too. So as soon as they go down, as soon as they drop down, more buyers are going to flood back. Your monthly payment may very well be the same as it would have been had you gotten the home at a higher interest rate, because of how competitive you're going to have to be with your offer. When, like, if you think it's bad competing against 4 other offers, if they drop down, when they get below 6, more than likely for, turnkey hot homes, you're going to be competing against other buyers 100%. So kind of bring it back to monthly payment.
I agree 100% on that. Everything you said.
Yeah.
Because if they're thinking the same way, how many other buyers are thinking that too?
Right.
Everybody's going to wait for the rates to drop.
Right.
Again, we don't have a crystal ball. So we have to go with what is current now. And if your home comes on the market, why would you wait?
Right.
There's a lot of options. You can, buy down points. So if you have the extra funds, you can do that and get into the 5s.
Right.
That's definitely doable. If it's a home that has been sitting on the market for a little bit, you have more negotiation power. Maybe you can get the seller to help you with that buy down.
Right.
There's so many creative things to do than to just say, oh, I'm going to wait for this. or wait for that.
Right.
Talk to your agent. Get some strategies.
Right.
There's lots of moves you can make.
Right. And I mean, when you get into situations where you're competing against quite a few other offers, it's not just the dollars that that you may be sacrificing there in order to get to get into the house. There's some stuff in the term side that you maybe could have, if you go out and you're competing against less people, that you may be more likely to either get considered or it won't be splitting. Like it gets down to like splitting hairs. Once you've got, like Stacey, you were saying you just had a situation over the weekend, a really incredible home, 8 offers, like all competitive, all super competitive. So when you get to that level, you're starting to sometimes split hairs over things that otherwise might not matter as much. Like, all right, well, exactly how much are they putting down and how much are they putting in the deposit and how quickly are we getting these different things and how much like potentially of an appraisal deficit would they be able to take on? And because as you go higher and higher, like that could be more of a factor. So then you have to have cash to cover that. Like there's a lot of other pieces that get into the mix once you are competing against a lot of other buyers.
I agree. And the other thing too, when you're doing that, you don't want to lose a home for $5,000,
Right.
or $10,000.
Right.
You don't.
Right.
I have a number of first-time home buyers that I'm working with, and some of them, they lost out a couple times already. And now they know it's, they have to look at the bigger picture.
Yeah.
Like this is a long-term game. This is not just a short-term where I don't want to offer the extra $5,000
Right.
to beat the other offer. And it's
Right.
like, oh my gosh.
Right.
You have to get the house.
Right.
You
Right.
know? So unfortunately, sometimes they have to lose a number of times to come to this realization.
Right.
Because you're going to be in the same spot renting, for a number of years. And the prices are still going to continue to climb.
Yep.
So get in now. Your mortgage payment's going to be consistent for 30 years.
Right.
Now your taxes and your homeowner's insurance are going to change. That does fluctuate. But that principle is going to stay the same.
Right.
So get into the house.
I know.
Well, and the challenge here is that it's obvious to us, like a $5,000 difference made. You're probably gonna be kicking yourself down the line. I've seen that happen to people before, where I would have paid that much for this house. Well, you weren't. You actually didn't bid that high, and it didn't happen. So the way it's presented is the miss for real estate agents. So for all the real estate agents listening, and we've been talking about this a lot internally, it's this 1-3-1 format, right? So you've got one problem. I want to get the house, and there's multiple offers, right? I want to get the house, but I'm worried rates are going to come down. I mean, you could apply this to literally anything. Whatever your issue is in business, that's the issue. And then instead of just saying, well, obviously you need to do this, which this is what a lot of agents do, by the way. They talk at their clients. They don't give options. It's a bad business move in a consulting role. Hey, so Stacey and Sarah, we got 3 options to get you guys the house. We know there's multiple offers. So one is we can go up to this maximum amount. And if someone pays $1 more, you're going to feel like, okay, this stinks, but we're okay with it. The second option is go in and don't do anything and just go in at a normal number and know that there's a chance we might get beat based on the information I've gathered. Or the third is we just stop looking altogether and don't even make a bid. And you've got to go with the extreme options. And then based on what you're telling me, I'm clear we should do this. And if you can't say that to a client as a real estate agent, you haven't listened to them. Based on your need to get into a new home by X, based on you told me this is the home you want, then we should do this. If you can't say that, you haven't listened to them, you haven't asked the right questions, and you haven't qualified them. So that approach of offering options, hey, we've got 3 options. Here's 1, here's 2, here's 3. Let's go through the pluses and minuses of all of them. And then how are you going to feel if we go with option 1 and it doesn't work out? And then you let them answer that. How do you feel if we go with option 2 and it doesn't work out? Well, we're okay with that because this is our max number. Okay, great. So you've established some guardrails here. That's the stuff you need to be doing as an agent right now in the current market, because it could be a while before they see the next home. We know what's going on with inventory. The last thing to kind of note here about these predictions, and we'll take a quick break, is that Zillow's chief economist, Skylar Olson, had said that because of, because these predictions are all over the place, right? I mean, you're seeing anywhere from people thinking prices are going to be down 2% to they're going to be up 5%. So we got a 7% swing. We just went through an unprecedented period of the real estate market that included a pandemic, lockdowns, a historic stimulus, ultra-low rates, inflationary shock, and now interest rate shock. So any sort of forecast you have to almost expect a high margin of error. I think that's actually great advice here because nobody really knows what's going to go on. I mean, these were some pretty extreme things that all happened in a 36-month period. So that's great advice from Skylar Olson. And it's all the more reason you've got to get informed about the local data and what's going on and find an agent like Sarah or Stacy or someone else that can answer these questions for you on the local level. So we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back. We are going to talk about the pocket listing lawsuit got settled. And now there may be a competing association on the rise against the National Association of Realtors. We'll break it down next on Toole Time, Real Estate Radio on WWDB 860 AM.
For the best local mortgage service and great rates on your money, look no further than Mortgage America. We've been operating in the greater Philadelphia area for 40 years with a focus on smooth, easy access to home purchasing. Whether you're a first-time buyer, upsizing or downsizing, or just refinancing, we have programs for you. We also have closing cost assistance programs and access to subsidized interest rates. Pre-approval is free, no costs or commitments. To learn more, visit our website at mymortgageamerica.com or give us a call at 610-439-8000. We always have a person available to take your call with around-the-clock human service. Purchase your home with the personalized, local service you find at Mortgage America.
Mortgage America is an equal housing lender. NMLS 128501.
The Tom Toole Sales Group is the #1 RE/MAX team in Pennsylvania with over $165 million in volume for 2021. I'm Tom Toole, and our team has achieved that kind of success by being a great place to work with and to work for. No one knows Greater Philly better than we do. We know real estate, but more importantly, we're real people. We hire the best agents, and we give them all the tools to succeed. Even our brand new agents sell 17 to 24 homes a year because our team delivers the best experience in real estate. Teams deliver a better experience than individuals, and we're a top 1% real estate team in the country. We call it AAA service. We're your advocate, ally, and advisor. Because this isn't a transaction to us. It's a relationship. If you're buying or selling a home, call the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX main line at 610-692-6976 or visit tomtoole.com. That's tomtoole.com. Sell your home for more, and remember the real estate golden rule. You always get more when you work with Tom Toole.
When you're getting a mortgage, you shouldn't have to sacrifice great service just to get a great rate. At Mortgage America, we've been lending with this philosophy for over 35 years. We have access to great low rates without the complications and delays of big or online banks. We're a local Pennsylvania lender with loan officers that you can actually meet. As PHFA's #1 lender, we specialize in all residential mortgage programs, including first-time buyer programs and low down payment options. For your free pre-approval, call us at 610-439-8000 or apply online at mymortgageamerica.com.
Mortgage America is an equal housing lender. NMLS 128501.
Have you considered a career in real estate? Do you want control over your income? Whether you have a license or not, call us today at 610-692-6976 or visit tomtoole.com. Join our team, the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX main line.
We are back on Toole Time, Real Estate Radio on WWDB 860 AM. I'm Tom Toole. She's Stacy Mitchell. She's Sarah Timon. We've got Nick Wolf behind the camera. We all work at the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX Mainline, the #1 RE/MAX team in Pennsylvania since 2018. And if you get some value out of this, we're going to be talking about this pocket listing lawsuit, which I'm excited to chat about, a rival association with NAR. And next segment, we're going over how 80% of home buyers are willing to adjust their plans and how agents might need to be talking to them a little more insightfully than they have been. Make sure to subscribe to our channel on YouTube. Hit the bell for notifications so you can know when we're going live every single week on Toole Time Real Estate Radio. So the PLS, remember the PLS? It was the Pocket Listing Service. It was founded by Mauricio Yamansky from the agency, as well as a couple other people, David Barnes, James Harris, Chris Dyson. They were all, and this was back in 2017, and they were showcasing listings nationwide. So the idea was the P stands for property. It was the Property Listing Service. They reached an agreement for a settlement with Bright MLS, the Midwest Real Estate Data, and the California Regional MLS Service in a lawsuit. And so they didn't settle with NAR. I found that very interesting. They did settle with everybody else, and it was really the lawsuit was to take aim on the ban on pocket listings. The plaintiff, which was the PLS.com, claim that the ban takes away agents' marketing choices, and they allege that the requirement for listing brokers to submit a listing to their MLS within 1 business day of marketing a property to the public violates the federal Sherman Antitrust Act. The suit also argued that if there was competition for the MLSs, it would result in lower costs, starting with the fees that MLS charge agents. What is our MLS charge? It's like $600 a year, right? Something like that. Yeah. So that's a lot of money for agents, considering the average agent makes $30,000 to $40,000 a year. Originally, this lawsuit got dismissed, but then it was appealed in the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, caught the eye of the Department of Justice, which relaunched its probe into NAR in July of 2021. And now there's another legal battle, which we all know about, with the DOJ and the trade group. So the lawsuit settled, but NAR is not a member of the settlement. What does that tell you? Tell me more about what your observations are here.
Wow, NAR. Really? Woo, it just keeps coming and coming.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I guess they're going to have to eventually defend this one, too. I don't know. This is not such an issue in our area with the pocket listings. Mm-hmm. We're very strict about that here. You know, once the listing is on the MLS, we already know. It's a big fine. So
does that just mean like letting somebody in to see it prior, like once you've put it as like coming soon, and then like letting like an inside person come in and see it? And then
so here's the clear cooperation rule. Let's clear this up, because we haven't talked about this in a while. So this is from the NAR website. So I'm just going to read it to you verbatim. And I actually disagree with you that it's not a big issue here, Stacey. We'll get into that in a second. So it says within 1 business day of marketing a property to the public, the listing broker must submit the listing to the MLS for cooperation with other participants. Public marketing includes, but is not limited to, flyers displayed in windows, yard signs, digital marketing on public-facing websites, brokerage website displays, including IDX feeds, digital communications marketing, email blasts, and multi-brokerage listing sharing networks and applications available to the general public. So what's exempt, and then this is interesting, if the seller refuses to permit the listing to be disseminated by the service, the participant may then take the listing as an office exclusive, and such listing shall be filed with the service but not disseminated to the participants. Filing of the listing should be accompanied by a certification signed by the seller. And what an office exclusive means is that anyone at the firm can go do that, which depends on how your company's set up. So and again, that's so you have companies that actually do this. I mean, there's a lot of brokerages that'll say, hey, it's a coming soon with our brokerage, but it's not coming soon with everybody else. And I think there's more of that happens than you might realize. So that's what the clear cooperation policy says.
Okay. I know. Does that make it clear?
It's basically, if you want to do anything to market the home outside of one-to-one marketing and your brokerage, it's got to be in the MLS.
Gotcha.
That's the short of it.
Okay.
So, but okay, I'm more confused, I think, now. Because my understanding is, even if we were to market on Zillow, that's advertising.
Yep. We got 1 business day to get it in the MLS.
Right. But at that point, if you take people through the home, like if you were to allow access to the home before it's, okay, once it hits the MLS.
Like if you haven't even put it out to like Zillow yet or any public-facing
That's
thing.
different. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's allowed.
That's allowed.
Yeah.
But that's my understanding. But then once it's advertised, then that would kind of be like a pocket listing. Like, especially if it's on the MLS in a coming soon state.
Right. You mean just that you can't let people in.
You can't let people in.
Prior to, yeah.
Right.
So this is where Bright is a little different than other MLSs. So the coming soon listing status and rules do not change as part of this policy. Listings cannot be shown in the coming soon status. So you can't let people in. I mean, agents call all the time, hey, can I get in early? Mm-hmm. It's like, hey, how about you read the rules? Like, you're asking me to get fined. You want to pay the fine? Because it's $5,000. That's what it costs. So, you can list it as coming soon, but you can't let people in there. So then there's office exclusives or private listings. And the policy allows for office exclusives or private listings on the condition they are marketed through internal office networks, but not publicly to agents outside of the brokerage firm or publicly to consumers. So what it basically means is you can't show it when it's coming soon. You can market it to people within your brokerage, your team, whatever. It's got to be the same brokerage. That's what really matters here. And a lot of companies are set up differently because some offices are franchises. Some are, even though they're under a big box brand, there's other different like brokerages within that. So it really depends. The challenge with this, I see, you're telling the seller what they can and can't do.
Mm-hmm.
What if the seller says, hey, you know what? I want to do a 30-day quiet marketing period where you're reaching out to people in your database, reaching out to people outside of the marketplace. Like we can't, I mean, you're limited to what you can do there, which is part of the problem. And who's the MLS to say, Stacy, this is what you got to do with your house. Sarah, here's what you got to do with your house. That to me is the fundamental issue. And this has been brought up in the commission lawsuit for this very reason. So I like that this suit got settled. I think it's a good thing, but it's another example of NAR just coming up with some stupid rule that doesn't benefit consumers. And I think you have more people blurring the lines here now than you did beforehand. And again, it's the seller's call. I mean, you're almost forcing the seller to, hey, you know what, you want to do that, you got to go for sale by owner.
Yeah.
Right? And then think about like the logistics of getting signage up and prepping homes. Like, I mean, we have a listing management team that comes and preps properties. Well, that takes weeks. So, there's so many things that can go wrong with this. So I do like that the suit was settled. I think it's a good thing. But why is NAR not part of the settlement? Like, are they that adamant against this? And I think that doesn't bode well for their appeal of the commission lawsuit where they're trying to get the cases consolidated right now.
So if it was like a brokerage exclusive listing, because you're not allowed to have like that public to anyone else, would members within that brokerage, like if they had their own portal or something, would their clients be able to log in and see it through that because they're using the brokerage channel to view it? So like that would be
however that
permissible.
works. I mean, everyone's got different. I mean, all the technology is basically the same with these companies, but I mean, ours included. But yes, the answer is yes, for sure.
Okay.
So now they've rebranded this the NLS, and that's what the website is called. And then Inman Connect in New York happened last week. I was busy working. I don't know about you guys. I didn't go to that. And Mauricio Umansky was on stage. And what I found was pretty interesting was that he got up there, spoke to Brad Inman, argued that the industry needs to approve, which I totally agree with, and that he and a partner are launching a new organization to rival the National Association of Realtors. It's going to be called the American Real Estate Association, built by Realtors for Realtors. And that was the first session on Wednesday morning last week. It was basically like a debut, even though the news had kind of leaked beforehand. And there's a guy, Jason Haber, who's a New York-based real estate agent. He's been a big critic of NAR, along with a lot of other people. He had a petition signed. So there's a lot of things happening right now. And, I mean, do you think this other association is going to gain any traction? I think they didn't settle with NAR because of this new association. I mean, that's my theory. I don't know if I'm right or wrong. But that's kind of what looks like it might be happening. So, I mean, do you see this getting any traction here?
It's totally possible. I mean, people are leaving. Agents are leaving the NAR. If they have a choice, they're not renewing membership.
I guess
because it's a debacle.
Right. I mean, I guess it would depend on what all the
they're
NLS
offering.
is offering, right?
Right.
Like, what are you going to do differently? What are you going to do if it's made by realtors for realtors? Like, what are you doing for me?
Right, exactly.
Sounds like FUBU, for us by us, right?
People want to know that their money is going to a reputable place where they have options and where they can get some type of benefit from it. And right now, NAR is not that organization at this point. I mean, we're forced to be in there.
I also think that for the new one, like the NLS, like there's going to have to be some people that jump on board first, I guess, to kind of like test it out and then be like, yes, it's good, before like everybody would follow suit. Nobody wants to be the first one to hop in.
Yeah, it is tough to draw people in, but if they're offering something and it's worth it, people will follow. People will join. But I think, it's worth a shot to have this American Real Estate Association. It definitely is. NAR needs competition.
Right.
So I do think there's an opportunity here for the right group to rise up and do that. So, I mean, you heard what Mauricio Umansky said. And then, he has Jason Haber. He founded the NAR Accountability Group. They sent about 70 letters to NAR leadership. No one got a response. That doesn't surprise me. So then Ryan Schneider came on. He's the CEO of Anywhere. And, what I found pretty interesting is that immediately following Mauricio coming up on Wednesday, Ryan disagreed with all this. And he said what he went on to talk about was that because he disagrees because the opportunities to be influential in Washington, D.C. are not about trade associations. They're about leadership. And, what he went on to talk about is when he spoke to Inman News and some other people, there's only 3 companies in the real estate industry with a full-time presence in D.C. Anywhere, Zillow, and CoStar. If agents and franchises aren't talking to their reps in Congress or they're not talking to their state reps, they're missing an opportunity. You can't rely on trade groups to shape your destiny. There's an opportunity for everybody in the industry to do more to take control because we've seen what the alternative is, whether you do that on the public policy side or the litigation side, it needs to happen. So I found that to be pretty interesting. I don't know if Mauricio Umansky is the right guy to be leading this. I mean, he was on Dancing with the Stars, right? I mean, he's on reality TV. He's having a very public issue with his wife, who's a reality TV star. And I have no issue with any of that. The problem is, we just talked about all the bad press that NAR is getting. And look, Mauricio has done nothing close to what they're talking about here. But is he really focused on real estate all the time? That's my big question here. And I think that's a question you need to think about when there's this like pseudo celebrity reality star life going on. I just don't know if that's the kind of people that serious agents are going to want to follow all the time, especially outside of the LA market.
That's
That's my view on this here. I mean, if I'm looking at it like a CEO or a leader, I want them locked in. It's like, all right, I'm doing this and I'm going home. Then I'm going back to do this.
Right. And what's his true motivation for doing this? Is it because he's so passionate about it?
Right.
But more drama.
Or does he need some more like exposure on himself?
Exposure on himself, right. Yeah, good. That's a really good point there, Tom, because, those reality shows are nothing but drama filled. And that's what the NAR has become. And that's what, I would hope that in creating this new association that they wouldn't want that to become.
Right.
Now, Ryan Schneider does have a good point that he calls for people to get involved with your Congress and state officials. I've gone down this road before. You guys were there when we got shut down. I mean, I was in touch with state reps. Luckily I was actually surprised how much they communicated back and forth with you on the issue. It wasn't just me. I was kind of the front of this. We were on 6 ABC News. We talked a lot about that. And, the problem with that is when you start becoming that visible, you become a target as well. And I think that's something that a lot of business owners are afraid of. They want to just go out and, I know what we want to do. We want to go help people and sell houses. Like that's all that we're focused on. And agents have a tendency to focus on everything but that. So that's the challenge with Mauricio here. I mean, I think he's a very smart guy, obviously very successful business owner. But for that job of running the trades group for the industry or whatever that's going to be, I don't know if that's the right kind of person you want for that job, in my view. So
I agree with that.
But I do think there's something to disrupting this here, and I think he's out there, talking about it, going through it. I do see some value in that, and even the guy Jason Haber, like it's the NAR Accountability Project, great. Like, how about you actually come up with like some plans to do something different? Like, how are they going to get MLS control? How are they going to make it an opt-in fee just for the MLS and not having to be part of NAR? What about electronic lockboxes? That's the real crux of the issue here, because whether or not we like it, we're tied to the NAR right now because we have to effectively service our clients.
Yeah.
We don't have an option.
It's a no-choice organization for us.
Right.
The No Choice Association of Realtors, is that what you're...
Yeah, that's it.
So this is going to be interesting. Now, I am glad to see someone disrupting this, and maybe he gets it off the ground and finds better leadership. I think that could be a viable option here. There's a lot of ways this could go. I do agree with Ryan Schneider. We can take control here. That's how I felt when we were shut down. It's like we can sit there and wait for something to happen, or we can actually do something about it. And that was not fun. So I totally get that. So this will be interesting to see what happens here. I mean, this didn't take long.
It didn't take long.
When did all
kind of
this?
excited,
When did
actually.
all this stuff? I'm trying to remember when all the. It was like the fall, right? Like it seems like it was yesterday, but it wasn't. I think it was, like October, September is when all the stuff happened with NAR.
Was it? It was more summertime? End of summer?
Maybe, yeah. October 31st is when
Yeah.
we got the news about the commission lawsuit. It was before that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Happy Halloween.
Right.
Yeah.
And it just seemed like, every other week there's negative news about.
And now they're on their
Right.
third president.
NAR. Yeah.
Like since it's ridiculous. And then did you see his speech, by the way? It was
No.
like, it looked like he was reading off a teleprompter and just speaking the company line, which doesn't inspire any confidence.
Right.
Wow. What, the new president?
Well, because the other one got
Yeah.
blackmailed.
Right. So,
Mhm.
I mean, what was that? I mean, it had to be something horrible.
yes.
Right.
So it was that woman. What was her name? I don't remember. But so she left quickly.
Right.
Like
Right.
mad exit.
Yeah.
I didn't. So the new president
He made some
had
statement.
like a teleprompter speech.
And one of it was just, it looked like he was just reading off the company line. I mean,
Yeah.
it is what it is. I mean, it's just the challenge I see with the people that are getting tapped as leaders in real estate right now with the commission lawsuits and this stuff. And the other one was, Anthony Lamacchia that they had that debate last week. I don't know if you guys watched that on Housing Wire. It was a clown show,
Was it?
and it's the people that are rising up. Like I'd love to see. Ryan Schneider's got a great point here, where it's Anthony Lamacchia and Michael Ketchmark, and they both seem like they're out of touch, and it looks like it's a publicity stunt for both of them, in my view. I would just love to see some other leadership come out, but the problem is when you speak out as a leader, it actually can hurt your organization more. Like we're in such a weird time, and I think that's one of the challenges here. I mean, you got to have someone that has no fear of having any damage done, because you will get raked through the coals.
Yeah. True.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back, talk about what 80% of home buyers are willing to do with their home search plans next on Toole Time Real Estate Radio on WWDB 860 AM.
You shouldn't have to deal with all the red tape when getting your mortgage from a big or online bank. At Mortgage America, we have access to big bank money, but with the personalized and detailed service of a local bank. We are here in your community and ready to serve with fast settlements, low down payment options, and first-time homebuyer programs. Pre-approval is free, no costs or commitments. For more information, visit our website at mymortgageamerica.com or give us a call at 610-439-8000.
Mortgage America's equal housing lender. NMLS 128501.
Have you considered a career in real estate? Do you want control over your income? Whether you have a license or not, call us today at 610-692-6976 or visit TomToole.com. Join our team, the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX Main Line. I'm Tom Toole of the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX Main Line. If you're thinking of becoming a real estate agent in the greater Philly area, I have a special offer for you. Our team did $165 million of volume in 2021, making us the #1 RE/MAX team in Pennsylvania and a top 1% team nationally. Our agents love us because we offer them a successful career, a great life, and an unbeatable culture. Agents who've been with us for at least a year average 30-plus sales. Even our brand new agents average 17 to 24 sales a year. We offer proven systems and expert training. We help you set more appointments and sell more houses. Now here's the offer. If you don't have a real estate license yet, we offer real estate scholarships so you can get one for free. Check it out at realestateScholarshipProgram.com or visit the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX Main Line at TomToole.com. That's TomToole.com. Get more out of your real estate career, and remember the real estate golden rule. You always get more when you work with Tom Toole.
When you're getting a mortgage, you shouldn't have to sacrifice great service just to get a great rate. At Mortgage America, we've been lending with this philosophy for over 35 years. We have access to great low rates without the complications and delays of big or online banks. We're a local Pennsylvania lender with loan officers that you can actually meet. As PHFA's #1 lender, we specialize in all residential mortgage programs, including first-time buyer programs and low down payment options. For your free pre-approval, call us at 610-439-8000 or apply online at mymortgageamerica.com.
Mortgage America's equal housing lender. NMLS 128501.
All right. Welcome back to Toole Time Real Estate Radio on WWDB 860 AM. I'm Tom Toole. She's Sarah Time, and she's Stacy Mitchell. He's Nick Wolf behind the camera. He's the guy that makes it all go on our radio show here, and we've been with, we all work with the Tom Toole Sales Group at RE/MAX Main Line, the #1 RE/MAX team in Pennsylvania since 2018, and we're going to cover what 80% of home buyers are now willing to do. And this was like unheard of 2 years ago. I find this to be very interesting If you get some value out of this segment, you like what you hear, make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Click on the bell for notifications. Or if you want to talk about adjustments you're thinking about making to your home search, click on the link in the comments to schedule a call with our amazing team and one of these two ladies here. So this was a RE/MAX report that came out. And these are the kind of things, before we get into this, agents need to be like researching this 10 to 15 minutes a day all the time. Because if you're not in the know about what the consumer is thinking, the reason they do these surveys is so you can actually listen to the consumer. You two weren't there today. We did a listing appointment, mock appointment. And where do you think everyone focused on at the end? Like, you guys weren't there. This is not staged unless you're on the Zoom and I didn't notice. Where do you think the agent feedback focused on after we got done the appointment?
I was on the Zoom, but I think when I remember, they were more focused on the professional fee and
pricing and fee.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You know what consumers actually care about with listings, according to all the research? Timing, process, how to make sure they do things in the way that's going to meet their needs. And this is what agents do in general. I was the first thing, you heard the feedback. Everyone's like, oh, you should have said this. You should have said this. And I said, hey, guys, you got this all wrong. The focus is, how do we make this easy for you? How can we hit your time frame? Obviously, we're going to talk about pricing, which is important. Most sellers kind of have an idea what they want to sell their home for. Buyers know what they want for the most part. Now, there's been a shift here, and this is the kind of survey, when you see this stuff, I'd be paying attention. So nearly 8 in 10 prospective homeowners, according to this RE/MAX report, are willing to make adjustments to their home buying plans to achieve home ownership this year. Here's some of the adjustments. I'm going to go through them all, and then I want to get your reaction. Buying a fixer-upper, buying a home with a friend or family member, cosigner, borrowing from friends or family members, gift money, putting less than 20% down, that's very shocking to me, buying a multifamily home, buying a home with a longer work commute, buying a tiny or prefab home, and making an all-cash purchase. So seeing this, what does that tell you two when you're in conversations with buyers and with sellers? Because there's a lot of important information here that just doesn't get communicated well by real estate agents.
Well, I personally have had buyers switch to all these and, different variations of them too. So, yeah, I think that it's when you first meet with somebody and they tell you what they're looking for and it's very direct. Oh, we have to have a garage and we have to have this, we have to have that, and we have to have this. And Sarah and I both know this. In our heads, we're thinking, I understand what you're saying. I get it. But we're thinking this is going to be adjusted over time as we go through the process. We know that because we've been through down this road. I think that in the beginning, buyers, they'll be more stringent on what their wants are.
Yeah.
And you have to get them to parse the two, wants and needs.
Yeah.
And hitting 75% of what that is. And to be flexible.
Right.
Can you go to a different area than just that one specific neighborhood? Are you open to the fixer-upper? And 9 times out of 10, some people become that way when they realize the competition on those move-in ready homes. Yes. Instead of buying that middle house, why don't, would you consider putting less than 20% down to go to that bigger house? Some clients have done that. They're like, you know what? We're going to bypass this one altogether because there's way too much competition here. We're going to step up and maybe get some help from family. Put less than 20% down. So I think that as buyers move through the process, they come to the realization, but we should present these options to them to plant the seed.
Right. And I typically, and different personalities and whatnot can be different. So like things do like change a little bit in the way that this conversation goes. But I typically like to try to point out early on that you may have a list of what you think is like your musts. And that may change over time. And if this is their first time really getting out and looking at homes, I encourage them early on to let's see different types. Like, let's see one that needs work. Let's see one that's turnkey. Let's see one that's somewhere in the middle. And then we can compare pricing for like how that falls into play, because then maybe it will make you see the value at where you would need to be to get into the turnkey one, because you don't want to do the fixer-upper. Or maybe you'll realize, hey, this is an opportunity for me to, like, yes, you're going to have to put money into it to fix it up, but to make some of these choices. And if there's homes that are turnkey, but you're like, well, I wouldn't have picked that floor color. I would have opened up this wall, or I would have done da 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 da. Well, here's your opportunity to do that if you go this route. And let them know that like it's okay to look at different types of things, and then like let's start broad, and then as things filter into place, we can kind of really determine what makes the most sense. Because yes, very often what someone ends up buying is not what they were saying they were looking for initially.
Mm-hmm. Well, the things I saw here from this is that, one, agents need to offer options. We literally just talked about this on that like 1-3-1 mindset. So, hey, and a lot of this is driven by affordability. Nick Bailey, CEO of RE/MAX, says that affordability remains a key concern for home buyers as home prices, rates, and inventory continue to fluctuate despite today's economic environment. It's clear that home ownership is still a priority for many, and the results of our survey prove that buyers are willing to go outside their comfort zone to reach their goal. So if you're an order taker as an agent, you only want media, right? You only want to be a media borough. Like, good luck with that, number one. That's very challenging. Okay, how about this town that's right outside? It's actually in the next township over, and it's only 5 minutes from where you want to be, but it's in a different school district. I know you're sending your kids to private school. Like, there's all these things you can do. And when you say, hey, I'm not sure if this is for you, but this home needs a little bit of work. I know your dad's a contractor. I'd be careful with the fixer-upper if you don't know what you're getting into, or, that's where an agent should probably have a really strong vendor relationship where they can bring someone in to take a look at a home for them and let them know what the rehab cost is going to be. What's shocking to me is people don't know they can put less than 20% down. That really jumped out, and a lot of agents don't explain this stuff. So this is agent education, number one, and maybe it's, hey, you know what? We're going to put 10% down on a higher priced home because that's all the cash we have and we can absorb the payment. Or maybe we'll get a first and a second, right? I mean, there's all these options that are out there. And if you're not having conversations with these people, then you're offering options like, hey, here's 3 things we could do. Which one do you like? I mean, right now, 90% of buyers, more than 9 in 10 respondents, were somewhat or very likely to discuss alternative options with an agent. So if you're not bringing options to the table, you just lost the client because somebody else will, especially a knowledge broker who can educate them on all the options available. So what are you doing to use this in your practice on a day-to-day basis?
It's always going over the options,
Mhm.
even when it comes down to offer writing.
Right.
What are the options to make your offer stronger
Right.
with what we have to work with here?
Mhm.
How can we best position yourself to get the sellers to look and bite on your offer?
Right.
I mean, that's what it is. That's what we should be educating our clients,
Right.
especially the ones, even if they've purchased already. How many people actually remember the process?
Yeah.
They want to forget it most of the time
Yeah.
afterwards. So for us, we have to bring them options. We have to educate them and listen to what they have, listen to
Mhm.
what they're going through, listen to what they want,
Mhm.
know try to get a real good handle on their finances. And then you have to be creative in
Yeah.
helping them put themselves into the best position.
Right. And I mean, I think especially for if you have a client where like this is the home, like they want to give
Mhm.
everything to this home. Maybe they haven't thought of reaching out to a family member
Mhm.
for gift money, or even if it's something that you're going to be paying them back over time, but without the interest rate of where things are now, or maybe the start to pay them back could be a little bit delayed while you start to where you get comfortable with all the costs that go into like initially getting into the home. So I think not being afraid to ask, is there anyone that you could, you know what I mean? Just
Mhm.
to give them the best shot of getting it, particularly in the case of this is the home that I need,
And if they are interested in a very competitive home, have like you said, Tom said had a contractor list or a
Mhm.
vendor list. Well, we do, and I would recommend to clients who are very hesitant about waiving inspections. Look, we have a little bit of time here. Let's schedule a showing and let's schedule a walk and talk inspection.
Yep, I love those.
And I do too, because it's a win-win.
Yeah. Oh
Mhm.
my
It's
gosh.
like such a win.
Oh my God, the amazing guy that you had recommended. I think is he retired now? I know he was wrapping
No,
up.
he's
getting
starting.
close
He's
to it.
trying to wrap up, but I don't think anybody will let him.
I know. I was
But
like,
the
no,
walk and talk is like
go.
exactly. So your buyers feel like, oh my gosh, okay, I had another pair of eyes on this, and
Right.
we know what we're dealing with, and we can feel comfortable waiving the inspections. I mean, that's a huge deal.
Yeah,
It's a huge
massive.
deal.
all the more reason to look at your options. And I mean, and you're doing your clients a disservice if you're not bringing them up. That's really what people want. So we're going to break it right there. That's it for this week's episode. You can follow Sarah at Ty_Ty Time on Instagram. You can follow Stacy at the number 2 Mitchco on Instagram. You can follow me at Tom Toole 3RD at Tom Toole 3rd. We're streaming live every week. Check us out on YouTube. If you like the show, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell for notifications, and we will be back next week on Toole Time Real Estate Radio on WWDB 860 AM.